We are back on Sports Scene, and USC football is back in action this weekend at Huntington Bank Stadium, the home of the Minnesota Gophers.
USC women's soccer played its first home games this season, and why they weren't played on campus.
And LeBron and Bronny shared their first media day together. All that and more coming up on Sports Scene.
Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome back to Sports Scene. I'm Devin Diet.
And I'm Liam Irvin.
And I'm Grace Schneider. Well, let's get right into things. In USC's first Big Ten home game, USC battled back from behind, taking down Wisconsin 38-21. USC fans showed up and showed out for their Trojans.
Season, man. We here to win, man. We here to win this season, man. Fight on.
Oh, there he is. Right on.
While the Trojans scored first against Wisconsin, their start was definitely shaky. USC trailed 21-10 going into the half, and Moss threw his second interception of the season. But Lincoln Riley rallied his troops, and USC came out in the second half ready to fight on. The Trojans battled back, putting up 28 unanswered points in the second half to claim the victory 38-21. Redshirt junior quarterback Miller Moss played well, going 30 for 45 on pass attempts with 3 touchdowns. But Moss is already looking ahead to USC's game versus Minnesota.
No, really good defense. I mean, top 5 in the country, #1 passing defense. So, obviously, a really good challenge for us. They're a really veteran group, and a group that's taken on a new defensive system really well. There's not a lot of busted coverage. Like for a group that's in the first year of their system, they execute really well. I think that shows up across the board on tape. Yeah, just like I said, an exciting challenge for us.
After the game, USC moved to the 11th spot in the AP poll. This weekend, the Trojans will build on their success as they travel to Minnesota to take on the Golden Gophers. Now we'll send things over to Scott to hear about what's going on in the Big Ten.
Conference play is now well underway in this NCAA football season, and the Big Ten has a strong presence in the rankings, with 7 teams in the top 25 and 4 teams in the top 10 in this week's AP poll. Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State have claimed the top of the Big Ten rankings to start the season, all performing as cohesive elite football teams, which sets up an exciting matchup between Ohio State and Oregon next weekend. Michigan has survived to 4 wins despite struggling to formulate a passing attack. We've seen convincing football from USC, and teams like Indiana, Illinois, Rutgers have made strong cases for themselves to start the season as well. We talk a lot about those top Big Ten teams in OSU, Oregon, Penn State, Michigan, and USC, but down the stretch of conference play, teams like number 23 Indiana, 24 Illinois, and bubble teams Rutgers and Nebraska could make strong cases for upsets against higher-ranked Big Ten opponents. So guys, what's one Big Ten football team you're excited about looking ahead and one you're hesitant about?
I'll go ahead and highlight first. Obviously, you mentioned Ohio State, Penn State. Those are teams that are prominent in the Big Ten already. Let's talk about a new up-and-coming team, the Indiana Hoosiers, on pace to qualify for a bowl game for the first time since 2020 and just the 5th time this century. A team I'm hesitant about, the Michigan Wolverines, 2 just barely avoiding disasters this week, Minnesota, previous week in the Trojans. Of course, Devin, what do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a competitive conference race come December. Grace, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think the big thing here is that the Big Ten has so many great teams. 4 undefeated teams already. It's going to be a really interesting season to follow all these teams, see what they do. But Scott, what do you think about this?
Well, just like Liam, I'm looking to Indiana. My hot take is that the Hoosiers are a better football team than USC. Curtis Rourke has been really productive for this offense all season. They should pick up an easy win at Northwestern this week, and then they'll have a bye week. Looking ahead to conference play down the line, I expect them to surprise some people. Team I'm a little hesitant about, Illinois. Both their lines were really manhandled at Penn State last week, which is, of course, an elite team. There were some bright spots in that game for the Fighting Illini, but I have my doubts about QB Luke Altmaier producing down the line. They're facing some really tough defenses looking ahead in Oregon and Michigan. But Big Ten play is just getting started, so it will be interesting to see where everything stands even after this weekend.
Woods, he's alone, he'll catch it, touchdown, USC! And the Trojans have the lead in the first game of the 2011 season.
Last time USC played Minnesota was 2011, where USC took a 19-17 win. On Saturday, the Trojans will head to the north to play Minnesota at home. The Gophers are currently 2-3 and will be looking to get their first conference win this weekend. Similar to USC, Minnesota showed its ability to play clutch second-half football despite falling short to Michigan. With a solid offensive line, the Gophers enjoy creating holes for tailback Darius Taylor, who is among the Big Ten's best with 5 touchdowns on the ground. Head coach PJ Fleck spoke highly about the Trojans.
I think one thing Lincoln's really done a great job of as he's gone through his career is he's running the ball more effectively than he ever has. And he's not running it just to break the throwing streaks. He's running it with effectiveness to run the football. And it's been, I've studied him for a lot of years, just watching what he's done at Oklahoma and USC. And he's part of that generation that's kind of reinvented the game of his offensive mind and what he's been able to do. I have a ton of respect for him.
Well, as USC looks ahead to another Big Ten away matchup, we'll talk about the keys to the game this week, taking on the 2-3 Minnesota Gophers at home, which will be a tougher test than most people think. The USC run defense has made huge strides this season, coming up big on multiple occasions Saturday against Wisconsin to keep the Badgers' offense behind schedule. They'll need that improvement to continue as conference play rolls on. Minnesota has had an interesting start to the season compared to their usual ground and pound offense. Some stats that stand out for the Gophers include an 100% fourth down conversion rate and 5.3 yards average per play on the offensive end. Turning to their defense, they have only allowed an average 15 points per game, with one of the best passing defenses in the country. Obviously, a sloppy first half for the Trojans this Saturday. We mentioned the pros for the Gophers. How can either team improve this weekend and another Big Ten matchup for the Trojans away?
Well, I think this game is going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. Minnesota has the #1 passing defense in the country, which might come as a surprise to a lot of people, but this definitely needs to be on USC's radar if they want to win the game. They need to have a strong offensive front, strong showing. They also need to do better at starting off the game. They've had a really hard time getting points in the start against Michigan, so they really need to improve on that if they want to beat Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen USC come out with a strong second half. They came out 28-0 last game against Wisconsin in the second half. But like you said, they need to get that going earlier. I think the key for USC to win this game is if they have some deep pass attacks to Jacoby Lane, Deuce Robinson, 2 wide receivers who have been playing great for the Trojans this season. If they come out and attack early out in the game and just come ready to play football.
Devin, I agree with your point a little bit. I think, you got to set up the run game first if you're the Trojans. That's something that was definitely lackluster this weekend. Thought the ball could have been a lot more, especially considering the Badgers, for most part of that game, were in a zone defense, which plays to the run for the Trojans. So get guys like Woody Marks going again, get guys like Quentin Joyner. When you flip to the offense for the Minnesota Gophers, they're usually a very good run team, 39th nationally over the past 5 years for their run game. This season, 114th. So that means they're not afraid to throw the ball. That means the secondary has got to step up for the Trojans this week.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the key to Minnesota if they want to win this game, is to run the ball and to control the time of possession, slow them down.
Yeah, Minnesota has a really good shot of winning this game, honestly. They scored 21 points in the final quarter against Michigan, and the score actually ended up being the same as the score in the USC game. So I think it's going to be kind of dangerous for USC. We'll see how it plays out.
No doubt this will be a close one. Staying on the topic of USC football, we turn to Casey Kasliner for the USC History Moment of the Week.
Thanks, Liam. Welcome back to This Week in Trojan History. 13 years ago yesterday, Lane Kiffin's USC Trojans went toe-to-toe with the future Super Bowl MVP. USC quarterback Matt Barkley tossed for a school record 468 yards en route to edging out Nick Foles and the Arizona Wildcats in a 48-41 thriller. The Trojans took an early 17-0 advantage in the first quarter, but allowed Arizona to storm back in the second half. Luckily for USC, the Wildcats' comeback bid fell just short as the Trojans got their act together down the stretch. Wide receiver Robert Woods reeled in 14 receptions for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns, including an 82-yard score to open the game. Both quarterbacks shined in what was a tough game for the defenses. Foles struggled early with 2 interceptions, but like Barkley, threw for over 400 yards with 4 touchdowns. Barkley's performance would help him go on to finish 6th in the Heisman race in 2011, his most successful college season on paper. The Trojans finished 2011 with a 10-2 record and placed first in the Pac-12 South, but didn't play in a bowl game due to the postseason ban mandated by the NCAA. That'll wrap up this week in Trojan history. Grace, who does USC have on top this week in the present day?
Thanks, Casey. Even though the Golden Gophers are 3-2, they have proven to be a tough opponent. Let's go ahead and take a look at this Minnesota squad and some of their standout players. Sophomore running back Darius Taylor shined last weekend against Michigan. Taylor hammered in 2 touchdowns against the Wolverines, bringing his season total up to 5. The 2023 All-Big Ten Honorable Mention recipient has 258 total yards and 48 carries so far this season. Against Rhode Island, Taylor carried the ball 14 times for 64 yards and caught 4 passes.
It is no secret where Minnesota wants to go with the football when they are throwing it, and that is to Daniel Jackson. The wide receiver from Kansas City has clocked in 28 catches for 336 yards this season for the Gophers. He is their go-to target for a first down. The 5th-year senior has spent his entire college career at Minnesota, and with a new quarterback has been a reliable component for their offense. Just last week at Michigan, he entered himself into discussion for Catch of the Year. I think we have it coming up.
Well, on the defensive side, Ethan Robinson might credit to the Minnesota Gophers' #1 passing defense in the Big Ten. Robinson has tallied a team-high 2 interceptions, including one against Michigan last week. Alongside his INTs, Robinson has tackled extremely well with 19 total tackles. Look for Robinson to break up the USC passing offense this weekend in Minnesota. Well, Grace, Devin, some skill players all the way around for the Gophers. What are you looking out for this Saturday at Minnesota, specifically for the Gophers?
Yeah, I think it's important, as we talked about earlier, that their defense is so strong that USC really has to focus on figuring out their defense if they want to beat them. And if Minnesota wants to win, really emphasizing on their defensive front.
Yeah, I think Minnesota has lost some of their identity offensively with this new quarterback. We see they're only running the ball 44% of the time. So like you said, I think they're going to be relying heavily on their defense.
Yeah, I'd still like to see the Trojans come out aggressive despite the really good defense. 96.8 yards per game allowed by this Minnesota Gophers defense, which is an appalling stat, the highest or the lowest in the Big Ten. So clearly they're able to stop the pass game. However, they have played against run-predominant teams in Iowa and Michigan. So I'd like to see the Trojans come out aggressive still after establishing that run game as mentioned earlier.
Yeah, Liam, also USC has won each of its last 6 road games against non-AP ranked teams. So it's looking good for the Trojans. But again, Minnesota is a tough opponent. But coming up next, the Pac-12 welcomes a new member, now making it the Pac-8. And stick around to hear a heated Trojan of the Week debate.
Let me tell you how we amplify our Latine voices. Check out Dímelo. We have it all.
Deportes.
Entertainment. Noticias. ¿Qué tal? Soy Mariela Gómez y bienvenidos a Dímelo Ahora.
Radio and podcasting.
Comida y cultura. Digital social media.
¿A qué equipo le vas tú? LA Galaxy or LAFC? Dímelo is the only Latina-focused media outlet at USC. Dímelo. We have it all.
Dímelo. We have it all.
Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
There's a new pet.
Chia.
Chia Pet, the pottery that grows. It's fun and easy. Soak your chia, spread the seeds, keep it watered, and watch it grow. And now grow a whole collection of fun with Chia teddy bears, puppies, kittens, rams, bulls. There's even a chia tree to keep your pets company. Chia Pets and Trees, the pottery that grows.
The Chia Pet and Chia Tree are available at Kmart, Rite Aid, Ames, and Woolworth. Makes a great gift.
The Pac-12 continues to rebuild on the West Coast with a new addition of Gonzaga. Gonzaga will be leaving the West Coast Conference, where it has been a member for 40 years. And all sports will officially join the Pac-12 on July 1st of 2026.
Like in terms of trying to improve your media rights TV deal package, what are the valuable assets that you can go after? And Gonzaga basketball is one of them. Yeah, it's just trying to get as many, like, for lack of a better term, like weapons in your arsenal that then you can have leverage. And when you go to the negotiation table with networks and whatnot, how many valuable assets can you market and offer?
Gonzaga will be the 8th edition in getting the Pac-2 back to the Pac-12. They will join fellow newcomers of Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, San Diego State, and Utah State from the Mountain West. And though Gonzaga doesn't have a football team, this is still a great addition in the rebuilding of the competitiveness of the Pac-12. Now we'll toss it to the monitor.
Well, USC's transition to the Big Ten is affecting all its teams differently. Reporter Campbell Donovan sat down with players from the women's lacrosse team to learn about their preparation for the conference change.
Hi everyone, my name is Campbell Donovan, and today I am joined with Annie Shields and Mia Triolo to talk a little bit about the USC's transition to the Big Ten. Thanks so much for joining me, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So the first thing I want to ask about is that the Big Ten is obviously a very dominant conference in lacrosse specifically. So can you tell me a little bit about your reactions when you first found out about the transition?
It's exciting. It's very different because usually the West Coast Pac-12 for lacrosse, like, not as strong as like the ACC or the Big Ten, so this transition is going to be a lot. This year we came in and like she kind of wanted to set the tone from the beginning that like we're going into like a huge conference and that like we need to lock in.
It's been super exciting with how good we've looked, and we've been having fun, like even though it's been, in all honesty, like super competitive, super intense. Our team culture going to the Big Ten is going to be like awesome because like we just are like so positive and like so excited.
Yeah, that's so great. And I think the team culture will definitely help, and you can allude to this a little bit with the extended travel days and being the balance of being a student athlete. How have you guys been preparing for that type of transition as well?
Travel trips are my favorite part.
Yeah.
We travel all the time in the Pac-12 too. Like we'll go all the way up to San Francisco and like go to ASU and whatever in Colorado. So like we're always on the road. We're not new to like plane rides and all that stuff. This is going to be a little bit longer trips, a lot, 6-hour flights.
It's just like really, really time committing and like intense all the time. But I like wouldn't trade it for the world. And like I think the Big Ten's just going to be like so cool and like just like such an awesome experience.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun, especially for you guys as East Coasters, and that you have a lot of former teammates on Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
What are the teams that you're most excited to play against?
Hopkins is going to be super fun for us to play. We had like a pretty intense game versus them this past year.
Yeah.
And that's going to be like a revenge type battle. Obviously, Northwestern is just going to be so fun to play because we've never played them before.
Honestly, there's like literally, there couldn't be one team. Like it's all just going to be like, I just love so much that each game is going to like really challenge us and like just make us better at the end of the day. So
that's awesome. I'm so excited to watch you guys. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
The USC lacrosse team is heading to the East Coast to play Georgetown for fall ball, and we'll get a taste of what their spring will look like. We'll toss it back to the desk to talk about women's golf.
Thanks, Liam. USC women's golf is off to a strong start this season. Freshman Jasmine Koo led the Trojans at the Windy City Collegiate Classic, securing her first collegiate victory. Sophomore Bailey Shoemaker and freshman Kylie Chong also put up solid performances, both tying for 32nd at 6 over par. As we turn to the leaderboard, the women of Troy secured a third-place finish, while Koo took first place. Under Koo, Shoemaker finished in 15th place and Chong at 32nd. USC will take a 2-week break before their next tournament at Stanford on October 18th. In the past 2 tournaments, the Trojans have finished on the podium, and they are looking to keep that winning streak going. Now we'll turn it over to Terrence to hear what women's soccer is up to and why this isn't a typical season for them.
Well, Grace, USC played its first home games of the Big Ten era, and no, it wasn't here at Rollins Stadium. the home of both the USC women's lacrosse and soccer teams, is still under construction until fall 2025, with renovations costing around $40 to $45 million. Until then, however, USC will be playing their games at Dignity Health Sports Park out in Carson. This past week, USC took on Minnesota and Wisconsin. Against the Golden Gophers, USC came away with a 2-2 draw, scoring early within the first few minutes of the game, but giving up 2 goals late in the second half. Against the Golden Gophers, it was much of the same. However, USC came out and Maria Alagoa came in clutch, scoring 1 goal, and an assist. After that, now, while construction will still be underway here at Dignity Health Sports Park, USC is still tied atop the Big Ten, 4-way tie that is, and they will be still undefeated in conference play. USC next takes on West Coast Big Ten opponent, Oregon, before then heading to Illinois to take on the 2 Illinois teams. Guys?
Well, thank you, Terrence. Now we turn to the weekly heated debate for Trojan of the Week with Thomas and Casey.
It's my personal favorite time of the week, and we hope you're ready. I have a new challenger on the couch. It's none other than Casey Kasliner, who's been called up to the big leagues of the couch. For my Trojan of the Week, I'm choosing USC football's Jacoby Lane. The sophomore wide receiver was vital in helping USC avoid an upset at the hands of Wisconsin. Lane had 105 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, his first 100-yard and second multi-touchdown game of his young USC career.
Well, you chose a football player. I'm going with a football star. USC midfielder Maria Alagoa contributed to 2 goals against Wisconsin with a goal of her own and an assist, leading the Trojans to a 3-0 victory. The Florida State transfer and World Cup participant constantly pressured Wisconsin's backline with 2 shots on a 3-point afternoon. Unlike in football, USC women's soccer had a solid start against Wisconsin, and Alagoa was the biggest reason for that.
Well, you call it a solid start. I will just remind you, USC women's soccer didn't score any goals to the second half. But you're the newcomer. I'll let you defend your player first.
Well, it was tied in the first half as opposed to USC football. It took a beating in the first half. But look, Jacoby Lane, I want to focus on him for a second. He was a liability at one point in the game that was very, very vital for USC. He wasted 25 seconds at the end of the first half where USC could have gotten a field goal by not going out of bounds.
All right, Casey, I'm just going to stop you there because he had a career high in yards, career high in receptions.
He had a good game, I'll give you that.
Tied career high in touchdowns. You're talking about 25 seconds? That is your argument against Jacoby Lane?
That could have been the difference between winning and losing.
USC won by 17. USC won by 17. That was arguably not the difference. Jacoby Lane was the difference. He had at least 1 target on every single scoring drive. And look at this play right here. Look at this play. He gets his helmet knocked off, a couple seconds on the ground, and then he celebrates. That was a 4-reception touchdown drive for him. He's the reason why USC won.
Well, I want to give you a little bit of a math lesson real quick. He had 2 touchdowns. USC had 5, so he contributed to 40% of their points, or touchdown points at least. Alagoa had two goal contributions on their 3 goals. That's 66 and 2/3%. Last I checked, 66 and 2/3% is bigger than 40%, Thomas.
Casey, it's more than just points because he had 105 yards. He moved USC into scoring position.
So did Alagoa. She moved the ball up the field. She was pressuring.
She moved up. Okay, show me a stat. How much did she move up the ball up the field?
That's not a tangible stat.
I have a tangible stat that he led the team in yards with 105. He led the team in 2 touchdowns. He has 50% of the team's touchdowns on the year. He has 4 on the season. USC receivers have 8 total. Jacoby Lane is the Trojan of the week.
It's Trojan of the week, yeah. Maybe not Trojan. It's not Trojan of the year. You're citing stuff before that. If we're talking about Alagoa before that, it's a different story. Very dominant. So I don't see how that point is valid.
Okay. Well, I just gave you valid points. He led the team in yards, led the team in interceptions, all career highs, by the way. He's Trojan of the week. He led directly to a lot more than just the 2 touchdown scores.
Well, to wrap it up, I just want to say this. A lot of those catches were just good throws by Miller Moss. It didn't take...
Did you see the one where his helmet got knocked off?
Yes. So what? That's a good defensive play.
Okay. Whatever, Casey. But we'll move on from that. Now 2 Lakers are rocking the last name of James. We'll dive into what they shared at Lakers Media Day. And stars at USC shine in the NFL too. We pick our standouts from the first 4 weeks of the NFL. All that coming up on Sports Scene.
Screaming across the sky. It's Las lots and lots of jets and planes. The greatest collection of aviation DVDs we've ever offered. And through this special TV offer, you can get 2 DVDs for the price of 1. You'll get to see big planes, little planes, soaring stunt and passenger planes, even planes that fly real low. Old planes, new planes, fast planes, slow planes, smoking planes, even planes at supersonic speeds, plus much, much more when you order lots and lots of jets and planes. Each DVD is jam-packed with lots of high-flying, close-up action. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Remember, you can get 2 DVDs, over 2 hours of non-stop aviation action for the price of 1. It's lots and lots of jets and planes.
You can order now and receive a free bonus CD of Jet Plane songs. You must be 18 years or older to call 888-300-3455. Parents, call 888-300-3455. Satisfaction guaranteed. That's 888-300-3455 for lots of jets and planes.
If you want to stay warm and cuddly, then you need to put on a Snuggie. It's the blanket with sleeves that keeps you totally warm while your hands stay free. That's right! Perfect for men, women, and children love them too. And now there's even a Snuggie for your dog. Available in a variety of hot new colors that'll keep you cozy from head to toe and totally warm wherever you go. Snuggie is available at retail stores everywhere. So if you want to be warm and cuddly, it's time to get on your Snuggie. That's right!
Welcome back to Sports Scene. Basketball season is about to kick off, and one yellow and purple team is at the center of everyone's attention. We go to our reporter, Daniel Palmore, with more information.
The Lakers' most notable addition in the offseason was LeBron James' son and former Trojan, Bronny. At Media Day Monday, James talked about how he knew Bronny was destined for greatness at a young age.
I looked over at his mom, and I was like, oh, he's special. Like, he's special. She was like, what? He's 5 years old. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I've seen this before. Like, I know I've seen this before. All the way to the point where he gets drafted, and I brought that back to his mom, and she was like, I remember you said that at 12 years ago. So.
In addition to Bronny, the Lakers also drafted sharpshooter Dalton Knecht with the 17th pick in the draft. While LA was not able to sign any marquee free agents this offseason, they did make a splash hire at head coach, hiring former player and ESPN broadcaster J.J. Redick to lead the charge. Redick was hired after the firing of Darvin Ham following LA's early playoff exit. The Lakers will get preseason action started this Friday against the Minnesota Timberwolves. LA also opens the season against Minnesota on October 22nd. And that's all we have for the Lakers, but let's toss it over to the couch to hear about how some former Trojans are balling out in the big leagues.
Thank you, Daniel. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how USC's Trojans are making waves in the NFL this season. The Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Drake London made a statement last weekend against the Saints. The 2021 USC graduate recorded 6 receptions and 64 receiving yards in the Falcons' 26-24 victory over New Orleans. So far this season, London has raked up 200 total yards and 2 touchdowns.
Former Trojan Amon-Ra St. Brown has also had a great start to the 2024 NFL season. He was drafted back in 2021 to the Detroit Lions in the 4th round with the 112th pick, but he did not let his low draft stock define him. The wide receiver is now in his 4th season with the Lions, and in April, he signed a 4-year, $120 million contract extension, which will keep him with them through the 2028 season. In Week 2 against the Bucs, he made 11 catches for 119 yards, averaging 10 yards per reception. Last week, he pulled off a crazy trick play against the Seahawks. We'll see if we can bring it up. Here it is. He took the handoff, rolled out, and then threw across the field back to QB Jared Goff for the touchdown. How about that for versatility?
Well, Caleb Williams might be back in full form after having his highest quarterback rating by far in a win this Sunday against the Rams. Williams completed 17 of the 23 passes he attempted alongside 157 yards and a touchdown. Additionally, Caleb avoided an interception for the first time in 2 games and boasted his career high in quarterback rating with a 39.1. In a win, the Chicago Bears moved to 2-2 on the season, with the Carolina Panthers due up this week in Chicago. Well, it seems that the Trojans are finally finding themselves on the big stage. We mentioned those big 3. Who else has impressed you with 4 games throughout the NFL season?
Well, Liam, I have to say I am not impressed with Caleb Williams this season. He has not been off to a great start, not leading the team like he should. I am more impressed with Sam Darnold, the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. I think he is the best USC player in the NFL right now. He is ranked first in touchdowns in the league with 11 touchdowns and has a almost 69% completion rate on the pass. He is the one to look out for. He's the best Trojan in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really impressed with Kalen Bullock with the he has, he recorded his first career interception in the NFL. And I think it's interesting, we're going to our third season with Lincoln Riley, and he's been one of the first players alongside with Caleb Williams that we're able to see in the NFL, seeing how Lincoln Riley and his coaching staff is developing these players in preparation for the league.
Grace, I want to go back to your point on that Caleb Williams topic. I mean, a 39.1 quarterback rating. It's his highest of the season already. He's only 4 games into his NFL career. I think you got to give him a little more credit than he deserves. For me, however, outside of those 3 players we mentioned, you got to talk about the receiver standouts. That's Drake London, Nelson Aguilar, and Jordan Addison as well. All of those guys have really impressed me this week in the NFL.
Liam, maybe I'll start seeing things from your perspective, but as of right now, that is just not the case. But that's all we have for Sports Scene today. Enjoy your week, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.